This is a podcast and a CD. Welcome to a podcast and a CD. This is Nick, and today I'm talking about Metallica from 1991, also known as, referred to as the Black Album. Just a huge, monumental, just time album era of for Metallica, and honestly, it has a huge impact on me, so, and a lot of people I know too. So we've got a lot to get through today based on my Justice for All show. I knew these Metallica shows would be big, so going forward, I have been thinking throughout the week that I'm going to be doing the studio albums. I believe I said that on the show. I'm kind of editing the Justice for All tour show right now, but I'm going to do the studio album. So we're going to go through, obviously, Black Album, Load, Reload, Saint Anger, Death Magnetic, and then we're going to hit Hardwired, and then we'll probably do some other stuff from other bands, and then we'll come back to Metallica at some point, and we'll do the Garage Days, the first one, some live stuff based on what I ended up doing with Roger Waters and stuff like that. I'll probably go through and just do a show for Mexico City at some point, and just, everything that, that I just really dig with this band. Probably, probably stick to the CD audio releases. They've got a lot of videos and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I could do a whole show, I could do a whole series on the year and a half in the life of Metallica. I'll probably be referring to a lot of that in this show, and we got some Twitter feedback that we're going to discuss. So there's a lot to talk about, plus this album and just everything it's done for me and helped me with music, learning music and evolving as a musician, and a good starting point, but also has some complex stuff to where it's just the whole package. I mean, this album does compete with me for, like I've always said, Music to Death is probably my favorite album ever made by Roger Waters. This album is up there because it's metal and it's got a lot of flavors. All 31 flavors. So it's like, again, I would probably say Justice for All is my favorite Metallica album, but to me, this is just, it's weird with Metallica because I think they've got such a good, solid catalog that it's hard to do the favorites thing, and with Justice, I think it goes back to those riffs. That's when I was learning guitar, really, and just kind of, even when I could play the stuff, just progressing. For some reason, the riffs on Justice just had this weird, cool impact on me, I guess. But this is the one that really started it all. I mean, I was playing this song. I was playing Sandman in the store when I went to get my first guitar with my mom and dad, my brother. I can't remember if my sister was there or not, but I didn't really know anything. I learned a couple riffs here and there so I'm just trying to play, but I do remember playing Enter Sandman, and just even the opening clean riff, and I kind of knew the main riff, but I didn't want to play it in front of people back then, so this is just a huge album, and it comes in two phases with me, because in the summer of 91, first of all, this was released April 12th, 1991, And Sandman was big on the radio already and MTV. So it was really cool to be able to hear something just, with that kind of sound on TV, radio, all that kind of stuff. Just even like when this kicks in, it was cool to hear this. It was, I don't know, it was just really awesome to hear something like that on the radio and on MTV. And I was 10, almost 11 when this came out. But when Metallica's Past and stuff, like I said, I'd heard one, but I was pretty much into the Clash of the Titans lineup at the time. It was Anthrax, Slayer, and Megadeth. And we had just, as far as me, my brother, and my buddy John, we had just gotten into Megadeth that summer. I think I talked about it. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack came out, so Megadeth had Go to Hell on there. But I always liked one and other songs I'd heard on Justice for All, but for some reason it just wasn't like, they weren't like my band yet. So this album is kind of the start of Metallica just becoming my not my band, but one of my bands. And then as time progresses, like I said last week, since Eddie's passing, Metallica would now easily officially be my favorite, living band working band, I guess. Yeah. And it's funny because of my wife did, she always does it for other people at parties and stuff like that, but then she ended up doing it for me at my 40th birthday party last October. She had Nick trivia and stuff like that, and my brother and my wife were always dead on with all these things and stuff like that. But yeah, she's like, "What's Nick's favorite band?" And I remember, this is 3 days before Eddie died, and Chris is like, Metallica, and it's and I'm like, Chris should get points for that because he has been there while I'm discussing me. Thinking through, Metallica might actually be my favorite band, and I'm like, but then I'm like, when it boils down to it, I'm like, Van Halen is my favorite band. And, but Metallica is still just right there because Metallica was there for me anyways. As far, and when I say early days, I mean early days of my guitar playing and all that kind of stuff. And they were there, and the documentary, A Year and a Half of Life of Metallica, was just huge to me. It sounds lame, cliche, weird, but it kind of just changed my life because it was the first time I ever saw dudes in a studio for, that's a long documentary. Part one's an hour and a half and part two is 2.5 hours. It's good stuff. And I just didn't even realize that was it turns out it wasn't an option, but I didn't realize that was even an option of career. And I'm like, well, this is what I want to do with my life, and so, yeah, Metallica's got me there with just the young boy really, and just trying to figure my stuff out and musically and whatnot. And then again, later on in life, me and Metallica had we'll get into it later on, but I wasn't crazy about Reload when it came out. I remember, but I was, and then I turned on it, and I still don't hate that album or anything. But I remember at the time just feeling man, I just don't like this, because Load I really liked and connected with, and then Reload I was just ugh. And then it was just all of a sudden something happened, and then when the Binge and Purge set came out on CD DVD, I believe it was in '02 or something like that, and it was then when because it was a different time, everyone in the metal world was always ripping on Metallica, all this kind of stuff. We'll get into all that stuff in a few shows, but I also, when I didn't rediscover because it was Metallica, but when I finally got a copy, I was able to buy that Binge and Purge box set. Listening to that concert, I was just man. And then it was just that's kind of as an adult. I was 21, but yeah, so in theory I was an adult. That was when I discovered, which I hate saying discovered, but that was when I got into Metallica as as a man. And yeah, and it's been basically, love fest ever since. I never turned on them or whatever, disliked anything. I'm just always it's Metallica, I don't care. But that stuff's gonna happen, I think, when you're a fan of something for at the time it seemed like a long time, a decade, and then stuff changes and whatever. So we'll get into all that later. So the Black Album. All right. So most people know the whole story. Metallica. I mean, I think Lars actually says that this is like the birth of it, the riff from Kirk. And not to harp on it, but this is like where it drives me nuts that Dave Mustaine takes like this attitude that if he would have been in Metallica, it would have turned out exactly like it did. But I'm like, well, it wouldn't. And my brother actually, I think, agrees with me on this. I'm like, no, because Kirk actually brought, Sandman's the thing that just blew the doors open. But I mean, honestly, without Kirk Hammett, we wouldn't even have Enter Sandman. So it just drives me crazy that Dave just assumes like if he stayed in Metallica, everything would have been the exact same and that it would have turned out the way it did. And because it wouldn't have. It would not have worked out the same. I mean, heck, who knows? Dave could have been in the spot on the bus where Cliff was. Who knows what would have happened. But I mean, as far as music-wise, it's just always something that's irked me ever since. Because, I mean, a year and a half, Lars gives Kirk credit. He's like, I called up Kirk. He has this great riff. And because this is the Black Album, I'm going to bust out my guitar and a couple things here because it's just so, like I said, just part of me. So the thing that Lars heard on the demo tape, and I'm sure we'll hear this once that box set comes out, is the riff to Sandman, but it how Lars, so he's like, oh, it had this, but what we call the riff and then a tail. And so Lars was, and they showed this on the classic albums thing, but that's actually an E flat. So like if it's on the guitar, standard tuning, in theory, this is what Lars heard on the demo tape. And so obviously Lars told him to do the tail just the third time. Yeah. And then obviously referring to the riff that I was trying to play in the guitar store in September 92, it would be, so this whole song came from that riff because it's just that whole thing is that all based on that. And the pre-chorus is actually that riff just up in F sharp, which I'm sure most people know, but and then obviously the chorus is basically that riff up in F sharp, but it's not doing, it's just. So that riff in E would be. So anyways, I guess my whole point is that Kirk this song came from that, and I give credit. Lars is a good arranger. He does a lot of things where he's grabbing ideas from riff tapes, all that kind of stuff, and putting it together. And him and James, work well. But again, I don't think we would have Enter Sandman without Kirk Hammett. So I guess I just really wanted to give Kirk credit where it's due because Metallica. They were already big. They weren't like. But this really just blew the doors open for them, and everything was just perfect with all this stuff. I'm gonna set the guitar down for a moment, but everything was just perfect. I think like Lars is saying in that classic albums thing where he's like, it was the right time, the right record, the right people, everything just worked. It was just the stars aligning. And Hammett says, it's like our dark side of the moon. It's just these things that just lightning strikes, and you just don't even. It just happens. But, and Hetfield will sometimes not play it down, but just say like the Black Album, he's like, I didn't really see it. He's like, I just thought it was another album. We always just try to put our best songs and record them, write our best songs, record them and put them out there. And he's like, to me, it was just another album. He's like, it was great, but he was like, I always thought all of our albums were great. Lars was more the visionary, where he could see where things were gonna, this album had the potential to just blow things up for them and really just take them to the next level. And it did. The Guns tour, the following year, but just the whole tour that followed this, it was just an epic time. And I still just wish I could have seen him on this tour at some point. I never did, obviously, but that would have been awesome. All right, a lot of feedback on Twitter. Turns out when you ask for feedback on Metallica, the people react, that's cool. So, all right, so where were we here? So Metallica is in the studio they go in, actually, I was just looking in this week, and they went in October 6th, 1990, 30 years before Eddie died. They went into the studio to start recording. I think, they were doing not rehearsals, but, just writing, that kind of stuff before then. And so they what does Kirk say, May or June? It's kind of blurry. Yeah, it's a classic, epic album. Sound. We got to talk about the sound. It's, to me, one of the things that sets this album apart from every album is this is, in my opinion, just the best sounding album ever made. It's just so huge. And Bob Rock did such an awesome job of just... they all mix and stuff like that, but obviously, audio-wise, Bob Rock, I just give the credit to of sonically just pushing this album into just a category of just sound-wise, just perfection. It's just, to me, totally perfect. The guitars, they don't have that, super low end, they've got that awesome, clean, mid-range cutting sound to it, and just leaves all the bottom stuff for the bass guitar, kick drums, and the toms on this album are just slamming. Everything is just perfect. The snare drum, it's just amazing. And obviously, I'm a favorite snare drum because it's my favorite sounding album of all time, but it's got, the bass. When Jason's playing on God That Failed, and then what do you call it? My Friend in Misery. Just the sound of the bass on that is just so good, and it's just captured so well. It's just awesome. If you hear it's just amazing. The sound, the hugeness of it, and just almost before they even release stuff and surround sound and all this kind of stuff, it's almost like this album was in surround sound before it was even in it, because it just has so much, to me, in my opinion, I guess, just so much depth to it, and it's just perfection, really. I believe it's 3 minutes shorter than Justice for All. Let me double check. Yeah, Justice is 1 hour and 5 minutes and 33 seconds. This is basically 62 minutes. But yeah, so obviously this album had its 5 hit singles, really. It did, obviously, Sandman, Sad But True was the last single, but we'll just go in order. Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, and Nothing Else Matters. So obviously those 6 songs, those 5 songs, idiot. And I guess Don't Tread on Me was released to stations, but never got a single release or whatever. So sometimes you'll read that they had 6 singles, but whatever. They could have had more, I guess, but it was whatever. It's all, everything that happened with this was just perfect. So obviously those first 5 songs were in our, we knew for sure first half of the album the most for the first year of this album, because again, we were into the other guys, and then Metallica was the third band that we liked. We weren't, full-blown Metallica fans, but I do remember my buddy John being kind of the guy that wouldn't let Metallica kind of go away. He would always, again, like I said, he bought, I think I said 92, I meant early 93. He bought Injustice for All on CD with this when he got his boombox with the CD player in it. So I remember him always kind of pushing Metallica, but it wasn't like we hated it or anything. Obviously, I was into it and I liked it, and it was just exciting to honestly be able to hear, again, like I said, this kind of music being played in the mainstream, because back then you had gosh, I was thinking Let me see. Let me pull this up. Let me think. 1991. All these, trying to think of these songs that were popular. And honestly, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to play, and there was actually a lot of stuff that was just terrible on the radio. I guess I could just look it up. But like, okay, so you got, I remember in 5th grade, this kind of stuff's on the radio, right? It's like, we got this. And like I said, this is kind of the stuff that I liked. But I wasn't like a fan of it. We got... And then you hear this on the radio. You're just like, dude. You're like, okay. And I just remember hearing the difference of just like, even Guns N' Roses. I mean, Guns N' Roses is... I love Guns N' Roses, but like even then, they're just more rock and roll. And Metallica was just like, and just hearing that and just metal. I don't think this is a hard rock album. I think it's a metal album, and because there's just stuff on here. Again, like compared to Use Your Illusions 1 and 2, like the differences between this and that. Like this is a metal album. That's a rock and roll album. Now, if you want to, I've been reading, looking through old stuff that like, it's not thrash. I'm not talking about like the subgenres. I'm just like, it's metal. It's just metal to me. So anyways, and obviously because I own it, those songs I played, what were 1991 hits? Losing My Religion. I Remember Everything I Do for You. I Want to Sex You Up. It Ain't Over Till It's Over. Wow, I forgot about that band, Color Me Bad. Oh, it's terrible. OPP, You Could Be Mine, Enter Sandman, It's Hard to Say Goodbye, Boys to Men, Summertime by Fresh Print, Will Smith, whatever. Mysterious Ways. Again, there's a lot of songs on here I'm fine with, I like, but it was awesome to hear this again. I think I obviously already made my point, but Joyride was on there from Roxette in that year. I always thought that was 80s. It's got such a, All right, so we should probably start evaluating this album. I'm not going to play my guitar constantly, but I'm going to, the parts where I just feel like, hey, that's my part. So, all right, so obviously, Enter Sandman kicks this album off, it was the first single, first video, second video for Metallica. I just remember just loving the build on this and just wondering why stuff like he's hitting the hi-hat and they kept it on the album. Like, why wouldn't they mute it or something? But like just the way these drums come in, it's just, and the bass really. Everything about this, I remember just, this is going to be a long show. I just remember discovering, the one guitar is going. And the other one just starts off going like. No, I'm brain farting. How's that go? Yeah. Bar chord. It's just awesome how the two guitars and I never realized. It was just awesome discovering that, because it's just like you think the and I just like how that other guitar was doing the build and all that kind of stuff, and then how it's just sonically, just again so massive. So I better get going. And there I go getting the guitar out, but here we go, the big break. so vocally. I mean, Hetfield is just, it's just, I think this is his best album too. I always love Hetfield on studio albums. Live, sometimes I don't like his renditions of songs, but this harmony, just even the way he comes in there, it's a really awesome vocal line. Bass there is awesome. I've always thought that the whisper in the right ear is awesome, but we were talking last week about, I think, Eye of the Beholder. I mean, the riff was that's Kirk. And so Metallica always had these riffs that were more simple here and there, and it was built more around other things going on. So a lot of times Bob Rock used to get, I don't know how it is nowadays in the Metallica arguments, I guess, but like Bob Rock's always was accused of changing Metallica, and Bob Rock's like, no, they were already, I mean, they gave him like fully fledged demos, and so the songs are written, the riffs were written, and Bob just, I think, got the best out of them and just blew the audio up. Let's hear Kirk. I always loved how the riff in F sharp, that just has this like layered feel to it, which, I mean, it's layered, but it's just mixed so well. I remember my brother telling me that he watched a year and a half with my uncle, and he was telling me like all the, like, he was like, they were doing this, they were doing that, they had the little kid in there who was doing the voiceover, and he's yeah, which of course Mustaine was angry because he did that prayer on go to hell and all this kind of stuff. I'm just like, dude, whatever, just stop it. Yeah, I love every fill on this album. The drums are just so spot on. It's just all perfect. But so I love the way the vocals are like, oh man, that is just brutal. It's just so good. You always knew that you're like, that's a part that they will just hang on forever live, and they let it go for a while. If you just listen to like Mexico City nowadays, sometimes they'll get right into it, but I have the HD audio I bought off their website. This is the standard. We should probably compare on another song, not a build-up song, but I mean, let me go back. So this is a big fade out, really. But I used to love it. Like, they played this video on MTV and they played the whole song. It was awesome. It's a 5.5 minute song, so I think it's not like these songs are short. They're shorter than the ones on Justice and shorter than Disposable Heroes and Orion and stuff like that. But I mean, Holier Than Thou and Struggle Within are the shortest, and they're 3.5, or they're almost 4 minutes, so whatever. So Sad But True is just another awesome song. I remember, and I still actually think sometimes to this day, studio version is always my favorite version of this song. There's something about the production and just the way just blasting this song is just so awesome from the album. And then listening to it on a live album is not really ever my favorite, but when you're at a Metallica concert, it's awesome live. So if that makes any sense, so we should probably get into it. But it almost sounds like in the beginning of this song that, you know, they take like the tape and they slow it down, and so it's like, you know, kind of like the tape. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. You hear that? It's interesting, but awesome song. I remember the demo being way too fast. In hindsight, you didn't know that, but I mean, so we got to hear the. You know, I should show you too. I have the Easy Drummer 2 software. And I bought obviously the Bob Rock pack, but the what do you call it? The room mic is just awesome, and that's what makes it. Like if you turn that off, like it still sounds good. But like without that room mic, it doesn't have that monstrous. It's just, yeah, I don't know, like. Something about that room mic. Let me solo that. Yeah, Bob Rock knows how to just utilize that. I guess that obviously, when we can see that room is huge at One-on-One Studios where they recorded this. I almost went to, I don't think it's called that anymore. I can't remember the whole history of it, but when my wife and I were in California like 3.5 years ago, we were in Burbank, and it was like I was so close to where the Black Album was made. I was just like, man, we should just drive by there. Like, I would just love to see, you know, where that all happened, because it's just such a obviously huge thing. So, all right, let's the one thing that let me pull this up real quick before I okay, so that baritone guitar,
you know, the tightness, we had to build this kind of a tent thing, which is basically some foam walls and some U-Haul blankets and, you know, all that.
It looks like they used like 4 Marshall cabs, and then I think James used the Mesa Boogie Mark IV on this. But anyway, the Sad But True, that baritone guitar, it's like, I had seen this documentary a lot when I was young, probably too young, honestly, to be watching it and hearing it. But just that baritone guitar in Sad But True, that he
get that Hetfield God sound.
It's awesome.
Hey! Okay.
So, yeah, if you listen to Sad But True, like, you can hear that, but it's not taking away from the bass guitar. It's got the tone in the right range. I've always thought I could hear it. You know, who knows? So, again, this is one of the coolest songs, and then the layers on the chorus are amazing for the guitars, but the vocals are always just like, I know Bob Rock said that he told James, like, if we can get this to sound like, I don't know if we can get people, but if we can get the sound of one person singing at us, then it's gonna connect with people better, you know. So the guitar there is awesome. And I think they did that, even though there's parts like this, it still feels like there's just one dude singing, but it's got those layers just so perfect, I guess, in my opinion. I guess, I don't know. That's good. Yeah. This song to me, this would be one of the songs that to me feels more like simple, but like sonically and just the experience of just like, this isn't a song to listen to like this. It's something, it's something you just crank and it is just awesome. And again, like we talked about on the Megadeth shows, I think we did, it was a long time ago. These slower tempos were because at the end of the Justice tour, they're like, you know, obviously people play fast, but, you know, they're like, we're killing ourselves to play these songs like Dyer's Eve and all just these fast, kind of complicated songs. Not, you know, complicated, but, you know, crazy songs that, and it's like, and then we play Seek and Destroy, and for whom the bell tolls, and everyone is grooving almost harder with us. And so that's, again, it's something that they were seeing in concert. And so they're like, we should make an album with more songs in that key signature. And no one ever thought this style of music would get so big that you would even be able to play it in a huge sports arena, because these tempos lend themselves. That's why in a year and a half, Lars is listening to Wherever I May Roam, and he's like, arena rock, you feel it? And it's like arena rock. It's because there's that tempo that with the reverberation and just the way everything sounds in a huge room sounds better at these slower tempos. But it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be heavy, right? See? Price. I love it. It's so good. Hey, I'm your life. And I no longer care. I'm your dream, make you real. I'm your eyes when you must. So I think I'll take this spot here. First Twitter feedback. One of our listeners, Sean Love from Twitter, he's like, I know this will, because I asked for feedback of what your thoughts are on this album, and he says, I know this will be sacrilege, but in my humble opinion, their absolute best album. The Guns Metallica tour in '92 is still one of the most amazing concerts ever. Yeah, obviously, if you've heard the show up till this point, that I don't think that's a sacrilege view, because, and I know it's like popular to hear people rag on this album and all that kind of stuff, but like, you know, I think when you're young, you could be like, oh, say this about the Black Album, this is garbage, it's slow and all that kind of stuff. But to me, I mean, I just compare it to my own life. Like when I was about their age, when they made this album, I had a different view on music and everything than I did, 10 years before. So I just see this as like an evolution of these four guys changing and growing and trying something new. Lars always critiques everybody. He's like, every album cycle, there's just like, maybe not with Hardwired, but up until then, I mean, that was the last one, but he's like, everyone always like criticizes us for doing this. He's like, we've always put something on record that everyone's like, you sell out, Fade to Black, Sanitarium, these, I'm just like, no, so I think it's the perfect evolution of them just learning and growing as people and musicians, just like what works for them and what do they want to hear? What do they want to play? And, I can't even imagine playing as many shows as they have up until this point. So I'm with you, Sean. It's one of their best. It's probably their best. I agree. I think I agree. But again, I still can't, Justice is just, I just love that. To me, yeah, the drums are too loud, the guitars are too loud, and the mix, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'd have a hard time not saying Justice, but I do think this is their best, and that does not mean I do not have just a huge, spot for the other albums. Master of Puppets is so good. Ride the Lightning. I mean, Ride the Lightning is still the album where I'm just like, oh man, Newstead says in a year and a half. He's like, guys, look at the Hendrix album. And they're like, oh, these guys. Like, Ride the Lightning is that album. I'm like, man, that is a good one. I missed the vinyl that Walmart has that's like blue. Everyone went out and got that. I wanted that so bad just because I was like, Ride the Lightning. But to me, it's Metallica. With honestly, I think Lars is the one who's controlling most of their stuff, and I apparently like and trust what he comes up with and what he ends up pushing. So all right, we're gonna move on. Holier Than Thou, because we are 3 songs in, and we at the live taping here, we're at 50 minutes, so I need to get to work. All right. Holier Than Thou. So this was, most people know the story, but this was Bob Rock's pick for the first single. And I remember watching Year and a Half, and I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree, Bob. Like, I probably like this song more than Never Say Man, but as far as like, obviously Lars knew what he was doing, but the way I just agree with Bob, the way this builds. And then as James says on the making of classic albums, he's like, and then the lyrics came and it wasn't a single. It was funny. They all laughed. But I was reading this one book that said this is the fastest song on the album, and I was just like, no. Struggle Within is, let's look it up. 166. Really? I don't know. Let's see. Struggle. Then 144, I guess, technically. Well, I don't know. Yeah, this song's faster. I'm sorry. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm saying I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. This is a great song with a great riff. So like the way it does go. It's awesome. And that's kind of the way you play the, whatever, a year or two later, when I got into Pantera, it's just kind of like that Cowboys from Hell riff, kind of the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. Just obviously I'm not warmed up, so I'm not playing these things perfect, but I know what this is, and it's just it's just one of those classic. I guess I should have this playing. It's just one of those classic riffs with the E and the B flat, you know, like the metal sound, you know. And this does have a great sound to it. So my favorite part of the song, this part here, is just like this. Oh, I missed it. This is my favorite part. This riff. Yeah, this is a great Kirk solo. Well, they're all Kirk solos, but I guess except for Nothing Else Matters. But and so we could argue that this is the first time we actually hear Jason Newsted, right? I mean, he's there sonically, but this is him just ripping this up, dude. And that there is where you can hear James saying that he's got a left, right, and a center guitar. So right here he goes left, and then you hear center, and right. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good. Let's see here. All right, so Unforgiven, obviously. Great song. I did want to say when this. Okay, so let me get the guitar that. It's a lot like their intro music, The Ecstasy of Gold, you know. You know what I'm saying? It's got that A minor with that A, what is it, A2, A4 sus, something. But it's a great riff. Whatever. I don't know if it's a riff, but. Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm going to hang on to the guitar because it's got one of my favorite, not dueling guitars, but two things happening. And I'll give you a warning up front. I haven't heard them in a long time. I haven't played them in a long time. But I'm going to come back to Ralph. But my buddy Ralph on Facebook, or my buddy Ralph on Twitter, not Facebook, he says his favorite solo has to be the one on Unforgiven. Yeah, he says... Okay, that's about the rest of the album. But yeah, this is his favorite solo, which is a great one. So we will check it out. But I agree. I always liked it a lot. It was never my favorite solo, but we will. But honestly, every solo on this album is just perfection to me. So if you listen here, and again, I haven't played this in a really long time. I probably should have practiced. Yeah, this riff. Both of those guitars. That. So that part, playing with that. Let me figure this out. Okay, I got it. I love that. Those two riffs on top of themselves. And again, as a guitar player, young, 12, 13, not even 13, just like realizing that, I'm like, oh, I know Unforgiven. It goes. But then you're like, oh, you can do that other thing that. I just love it. And that thing that James does on the solo, on the lower riff, that's just so awesome. And you can see on the video that he's just like, that's awesome. He plays that and he's just like, dude, that's bad. All right, so let's keep going. Let me go back where we were. So Lars's big thing with this was like, do a ballad with the verse doing the huge not ripping, but you know what I mean, the huge distorted chorus, and then the chorus, or verse, I'm sorry, and then the chorus breaks down to the intro, you know, and it's a weird dynamic, and yeah, it's awesome. And part of me wishes they wouldn't have done Unforgiven 2 and even 3. Musically, I like it better than 2. But I'm like, it just never really worked for me. But I still like it. But I'm like, this song to me is so epic. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll do Mexico City. But like when they kick in here, it's pretty awesome. James has got that acoustic up on that stand, and then just this is something they do capture really well. Just vibe wise, tonal, everything. Just it's really good. I love that live version, the way that kicks in there. So, here we go. Back to the front. And I don't remember this riff, but that nano. Yeah, that was a fun one to learn back in the day. You know, I never really thought through that this song is kind of like reverse. The chorus is like clean tones and guitars broken down, and the verses are bigger. It was always just the Unforgiven to me, you know. It's awesome. I mean, it's a great song. I mean, yeah, it's good stuff. Let's jump ahead, I guess. We should probably get moving. So I don't know if it's a bridge, but the lead up to the solo is just very epic and just massive to me. That it's a strat right there, isn't it? All right, Ralph, this is you. Let's see. There's that riff. Let's look up.
If I die before I wake.
You know, like, it's like, boom, da-da-doo-doo, da-da-doo-doo. You know, it's up and...
1, 2, 3.
You know what I mean? It's like it should play off what's there. Going up high, it's just like... Dun, 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 dun.
So Kirk,
But if you, I guess what I'm saying,
which everybody probably knows, he comes in with this solo that he really worked. He said he really worked hard on. He worked it out. Came in, played it, and everybody hated it. So I was trying to find the clip where he's playing the one they all hate.
This sound ain't working for me, man. I just can't get into this.
Here it is.
Just thought I'd let you know. Okay? The Bob Rock School of Production. What I said about guitar players.
So I don't think it's like terrible. So let's hear him play it in the studio, just because
Go ahead.
Ralph took the time to respond. So let's dwell on the solo a little bit.
Cut to the chase and I'll play, okay?
All right, man.
Now that you've warmed up,
Bob Rock.
let's
And it seems like his first take. They always say that the take we hear on the album is the one that he played, but I don't. He's playing it a little different there. So yeah, I don't know. It's great. It's a great solo though. And there's actually some keyboards on here, but boom, boom. Yeah, good stuff. So the end of this here is really good. Even those classical guitars in there are just really in harmonies too. There's just everything in this mix. Again, like I said, it's so huge and just massive, but just everything is. And now you hear those acoustics kind of jamming, and then these harmonies. Wow, wow, wow. So, I mean, vocally, this is amazing. Hetfield just keeps building. You label me, I label you, and then he's like, you label. It's really powerful. It's really powerful. Da 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 da. Yeah, that's awesome. So as we fade that out, as another big fade out, my buddy buddy, friend, brother, uncle, whatever you want to call him, True Enemy, says he loves this album. So many good songs. Hard to choose. Wherever I May Roam still gets me jacked up, and I can't disagree. This is another one too that live on it to me is better than Sad But True when you hear it live on an album or a DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. But it's still, this to me is the ultimate version. But when you're at the concert, it's just It's just amazing. It's so good. And we actually do need to hear. We need to hear. Man, that's such a heavy sound. Newstead's.
Oh, that crack.
Here,
That was a
Newstead talking about it.
Bass, right?
12 string bass.
Excuse my arithmetic.
That's something that needs to be addressed.
They play it here with
We tried 8, and that wouldn't work, so we went to 12.
That crack.
That sound right there.
that's awesome.
12 string of the bass frequency.
It oddly sounds Eastern. Like an Eastern percussion instrument.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that was a bass.
Ka-jong!
With the sitar.
Yeah,
That sounds just like a big piano note.
that's such a massive sound. That 12-string bass. Yeah, it's so good. So, da 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 da. Oh, now, wow. So those riffs there too are just like the awesome. This is like a E F, but there is that B flat that I was talking about too in here that just makes it just got this like feel. And to me, that's what makes it more metal. It's different than rock and roll. This is a down. And this is interesting too on the. If you listen on Year and a Half, Lars and Bob Rock are talking about tempos. They're like 121 on these breakdowns. He's like 120 on this part, and then they're like 123 the rest. Like it does speed up. It's intentional though. It's not because they can't play in time. It's just like it's interesting. Because nowadays with computers and just the way everybody plays to click tracks and all that kind of stuff, everyone's like, this song's in 120 or 121 and whatever, and it stays there. And back in the day, it was like, we're going to change this, you know. And I'm sure some people still do, but whatever. One thing I wanted to mention too is when you open the CD to this album, the way there's Hetfield on the left and Newstead on the right, Newstead was always just like staring at me when I opened this album. And I sometimes wonder if that's why he became like my favorite guy in the band, my favorite, you know, I wanted to have my hair long and my sides and shaved like he did, you know, and there's pictures of him with this like, you know, chin beard or whatever, and I was just like, I just wanted to look like Jason Newsted. And I wasn't even a bass player, but I just always loved this guy. But yeah, so this is one of the best riffs. This is awesome. But yeah, the way those harmonies come in, oh my goodness. So, should I even try to play that? Everybody's like, no, but I'll try. I haven't played that riff in a while, but so the main riff is and then the variation on that bridge there, it's just like it's close, right? I used to love how the verse goes like I just love that E, A, B flat, all that stuff. It's just great. One of my hopes is that on the box set, I hope it comes out this year in the fall, that they have the solo to this song, you know, unencumbered by technical, you know, like they do Outlaw Torn. No fade out on the solo. I'd like to hear it, but this is a great solo. I know Kirk says too that he loves the way it comes in. It's just like ripping, you know. Wow. That wah pedal's killing it too. Don't go. Yeah. Go. I think I can't remember if I said in 2017, but like, I mean, Kirk Hammett was my favorite guitar player until I got into Van Halen in '96, and Kirk's still up there. He is, like I said, an accessible guitar player. You know, Marty Friedman depressed me, and I could never do anything he did. But Kirk had this just like human feel to him, to his solos, not to him. I don't know the guy, but I mean, from like 93, you know, which again is not a long time. But Kirk was my favorite for a long time. So funny how 3 years felt long back then in the day. But so, and he's still one of my favorites. I mean, it's probably Eddie, Marty Friedman, Steve Stevens, Kirk Hammett, Dimebag. I think Dimebag's a little more unique than Kirk as far as solos and leads and stuff. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. I have to rank guitar players sometime. But let's just turn this up as it fades out so we can hear the solo. Bum, yeah. Yeah. I love it. Like I said in the last show too, I wish I had one of, not Kirk's guitars, but one of its signature guitars. So let's move on. Let's see, we have more more feedback. We got a new follower. Let's see here. We will make sure they continue to follow before they get a shout out. No. I always feel like I give shout outs all willy-nilly because everyone's like, wow, unbelievable. But hey, yeah. All right. So moving on. We're not even halfway freaking. So don't try to me. E flat. This is all tuned down half step. This and God That Failed tuned down to E flat. This song always gets ragged on. It's weird. Like in books and people that are writing, I don't think it's official, but I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, to me, this song here, just this riff too, just like, it's, yeah, all that stuff's just awesome riffage going on. I mean, I don't want to like say stuff because like, oh, like I think I said on one of the Floyd or Rod shows, like this album is an example of like where the hits are just awesome songs. They're just like most bands though, the major hits are not my favorite songs. And a favorite, whatever, that I hate that term, but like they're not like, oh, I'm always like, oh, I like the deep cuts. I'm like, I don't even care. See, back in this day, this album was one chunk of music, so I didn't care if there was a hit, or if it was a single or whatever. Like back then, the hardcore fans, not even hardcore fans, I hate that term, I hate a lot of terms, but it was just one piece of music. And to me, like, this is one of my favorite solos, Holier Than Thou, and then we'll get to some more later. But like, one of my favorite guitar solos of all time is on this album, and I'll give you a hint, we haven't heard it yet. So, but this whole here, yeah, and the vocals on this song just sound so good. The way they're just like that's another thing here, is this sounds like tons of people, but it still just, it feels like Hetfield. It's awesome. One of my favorite solos. Let's hear it. Yeah, I love it. It's good. So, if you crank that part right there with a subwoofer hooked up right there, and this whole part here, there's like that thunderous bass, just like, I don't know how you could, just based on this part alone, the way the solo builds up in here. I don't know how you could say this song's no good. I just don't get it. I love this song. And the most frustrating part for me as a youngster was like the tab book that my uncle, I always borrowed his. It had the chords written in. It would say like D5, A5, E5, and I'm like, well, that means nothing to me. I have no idea how to play this song. It was funny. It's basically saying this riff's basic. You play it like you play this, and it was funny. But yeah, I couldn't figure it out. And then eventually, I started to be like, oh, that's an A, that's an E, that's a D, whatever. So, all right. So that's basically, in my mind, always been because of the cassette tape, side 1, part 1. So we have 6 songs left. So Through the Never. So in the summer of 93, we bought this, I didn't, but my parents, we got a house, we built a house, we were able to just crank music and just listen to stuff more, freely. And the second half of this album became like my favorite, what do you call it? What, a half hour? Yeah, 30 minutes of music. The second half of this album is just, again, perfection. The first half is perfection, but the fact, more of the second half, I discovered it, a year or 2 years later after this album came out. And I just, even Nothing Else Matters, I didn't really listen to that song that much, because back when I was super young, when I hear a song start like real calm like that, I'm like, skip, go to the next one. I'm like, that's cool, that kind of thing. And obviously that was because of CDs. You could do that. Before then, you're just like, you could skip. You could find the slow ones, the fast ones, but Through the Never, such a great tune. We're gonna check it out, and this is actually one of the stories. Like I used to work for/with this guy who I still know, but he was always like, bass guitar sucks, bass guitar's lame. And I'm like, no. I was like, bass guitar, again, I've always been a guitar player, but I'm like, bass always I've always just loved it. And so I'm like, no. I'm like, you have the Black Album, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, put on Through the Never, crank it as high as you normally would do something when it's full blast, So don't start the song down here. Like, if you end up having the song up this high, you know, I'm like, start it up there, and then you will hear the difference. I said, when the bass kicks in, that's when I'm like, and I remember the next day he came to work. He was like, dude, by the way, I cranked Through the Never on the Black album. He's like, you were right. When the bass kicks in, it's just like boom. I'm like, yes. I was like, bass is so important in rock music, all music, but like rock and roll, he like, you know, similar stuff to me. He was a different generation, but similar stuff to me. So yeah, that's one of the awesome things about this album is that you can like use it to like teach people stuff. It's like, and I think at the time when that happened, I was like 23. Oh my gosh, I'm so old. All right, Through the Never. Here we go. I used to really struggle with that riff. Yeah, and you know, practice. Keep practicing it, and it gets better. So here we go with the bass. Yeah, it's so good. I just did what I told people not to do. I started it low, then turned it up. But yeah, it's a great riff. Every riff on this song is really fun to play. The you know, all that stuff is just really good. Yeah, good. And the breakdown, you know, again, the solo on this song is really good to me. That was always my biggest critique on Year and a Half. Was like, I watched that before I really knew this whole album. I watched it a lot before I knew this whole album. And then when I went back and watched Year and a Half again, I'm like, why don't they ever show this and show that? So I'm always like, I wish they would have showed more songs being made. Like, I want, you know, director's cut of Year and a Half in the life of Metallica. I wanted to see him working on all this stuff, not just the hits, you know, which I get. That's why, you know, you do that. It's a good business move, you know. But yeah. So this riff right here is one of the fun ones, man. This is a really good riff to play. So going forward, my the comment I was talking about where the favorite solos Unforgiven by Ralph on Twitter, he says, no brainer really. It has fallen in my ranking due to being overplayed. I don't find that with this album. This has always just been an album that, like, I don't, it doesn't bother me if something's overplayed by the masses. In certain ways it does, but not in the way it affects me. To me, this is always just like I don't know what to listen to. Put this album on, and I'm fine. It's just one of the, it's one of the best albums ever made. I mean, literally, obviously, if you've listened to the show, The Wall's huge to me, but I guess I'd pick Amused to Death over that by Raj. And then this album, this is so good. Such a good album. Nothing Else Matters. This is a big hit. And I remember my brother challenging me. I hadn't been playing guitar for a year at that point. But he'd be like, learn the intro to Nothing Else Matters. And because he's like, people always ask you to play that. And I'm just like, well, I can't do it. I don't know how to do the finger pick thing. And I remember just slaving for like not long, like a few days. And once, like I was saying with, I think it was Justice for All, the song, once you get that muscle memory down of what to do, then you can just sit and practice it, and I guess I can try to play it. But the point is, I'm not going to play this perfect, but I'm going to, I think, show that I just remember how to play it, if that makes any sense. Not bad so far, not great either. But yeah, it's good stuff because, again, maybe, obviously I can play that better than I just did. But it's just one of those things I've never forgotten. So, unfortunately, this song became like again, when I rediscovered, not Metallica, like I said, I hate saying that because I never turned my back on them completely. We'll get into that later. This song just became something more personal to me when I was 21/22. It became my ride home late at night when, you might feel alone, or maybe you shouldn't even be driving home. This became my thing. I'm like, if I hit repeat, nothing else matters. I hear this song 3 times, I'm home. Nothing to be necessarily proud of, but it's always just been one of those songs in my adult life that it just really gets, it connects with me more now that I'm an adult. And like I said, it has since I've been, this is almost 20 years ago, which is insane, but the other thing too is my buddy, I think I talked about him on this show before, Brian Humphrey. He ended up taking his own life back in 2012, January 4th. We worked together for a few years. He was one of those people that you could always just connect with. It was weird, like even years after we worked together, this one time we ran into each other at the bank, and that sounds so silly, but we ran into each other at the bank, and he was just like, dude, what are you listening to? I'm like, Lamb of God. He's like, I thought you don't like the new metal, extreme metal. I'm like, well, I was like, I do. I was like, but I'm very picky, and and so he like, we I don't know, we connected. We like, we were so different, but we were so similar. And so in 2006 in America / Michigan, wherever, we worked on a construction site together, and we were basically not selling any condos that year. And so I'd bring my guitar in. He would always love to hear me play the intro to that song. He's like, you know, most people are like, play Nothing Else Matters. I'm like, well, okay. And I could just play it. But he would always ask me to play it, and he liked it. And, you know, but we just connected. Obviously, we didn't, you know, I wish we stayed in touch more. Actually, yeah, on The Wall, I talked about Humphrey because, yeah, go back, listen to The Wall. I think the studio version. But basically, I guess, long story long, when he passed away, I reached out to the family, which I didn't really know at all. I just told them kind of what I told you, but shorter, probably more abbreviated. And I said, you know, I could do a song, I could do this, you know, and they were like, yeah, and of course they responded like, yeah, come play a song. I'm like, well, I don't want to play a song at the poor guy's funeral. And so I sent, man, maybe on Facebook, I sent a message to his brother who, his name is Chad. He passed away too. It's just a devastating story, but I was like, I could do Nothing Else Matters. He's like, do Nothing Else Matters. It was crazy. So I think he asked me to do like Unforgiven too, Unforgiven as well. And I was like, I think we should do Nothing Else Matters. I was like, you don't want to do Unforgiven just based on the title, you know, like at a funeral like that. So, but I just remember, it was really hardcore because I grabbed the guitar again. But I just remember once I started playing that song, you know, because everyone knows that whole part. And then it breaks down, and then it's just like, then this part here when it goes, like, I remember playing, I played it on an acoustic, but I just remember when I went, like, you could just like hear this like emotion, sob, something. Just people were, it was really strange. People were like grieving, but like, it was, I guess, I mean, it was pretty torturous, really. I mean, because like when I felt this like major pressure not to mess up. And again, like I said, like, thanks to, I just knew this song, I could just play it, but I just felt everybody, and it's not me, it's the song, it's Hetfield's riffs, you know, but like, I just remember going like, everyone was just ready for me to hit that D, that, and the C, but just that. I remember faking it because it was a very emotional, obviously, experience. And so instead of playing the like the verses like kind of finger picking like that, you can kind of like fake it, you know, like you grab your guitar pick and you can just be like, so close no matter how far. I ended up just doing that, just kind of strumming the chords because it was kind of brutal. Yeah, it was rough. It was, I mean, and not to make it about me. It was just another example of this song just having this huge I guess being a major part of my life, and that experience didn't ruin the song for me. You know, it's always been a song that I can just, you know, I don't drive the way I used to and stuff back in the day, but this is still a song that I can just like, I'll kick this on. I can hit it on repeat. I have a couple things where it's like I'll listen to the studio version, the elevator version, live version, S&M version, you know, all these different versions. One of my favorites is actually on, I guess I'll play it real quick because the way Kirk goes into it on Through the Never, it's really cool. He plays this really cool riff. Yeah, it's really cool, actually. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is, I don't know, it's just something that I can just vibe to. Real easy, just really just feel it. You almost hate it when a song this popular is just, I don't know, connects with you as well, because then you kind of feel like, you know, like you're a poser too or whatever, and you're obviously not, because, you know, the amount of, like, the band puts a lot of work into these albums, but like us as fans, we include these things in our lives, so it becomes this thing of like, you know, sticking with your band and finding those moments of where to make it like your soundtrack, you know. And this is definitely, it's definitely a song that found its way into my adult life, even though I already loved it as a teenager and, you know, late teen, whatever you want to call it. But there was times when I was kind of a mess, and I had a, you know, I was married, I had my wife, and, you know, you were struggling to find your way as far as career / musician, and songs like this would help me, you know, really help me. And I, you know, did it really help me? I don't know, but I just, you know, I can still put this on now and just really feel it. You know, I don't know. It's a hard song to describe. Oh, how must I seek and I find in you? So it is a great tune, though. That's the thing. It always sucks when like everyone likes Metallica, everyone likes Nothing Else Matters, everyone likes Enter Sandman, and you're like, I do too. I'm like, but it's a great song, so it has nothing to do with you being a poser. It has everything to do with it being just an amazing song, you know. So let's hear the Hatfield solo, right?
Never care for what they do. Never care for what they know. And I
I always loved watching Hatfield play this on Year and a Half Part 2. where he's playing that lead thing here. It's, I don't know why. It's just fun to watch as a guitar player, fan, whatever, you know.
Forever trusting who we are. No, nothing else matters.
That's a good one. I'm sure we will return to this song again. Wolf and Man. So these last 4 songs are just so... I always judge albums by their first 4 songs, and then this album's last 4 are just so epic to me. The one book I was reading, I think it's the Life, Birth, Death, Metallica, whatever it's called. Like, they were like, when Metallica played this album live in 2012 or whenever that was, they're like, they play it in reverse because they're distracting of how bad the album is at the end. And I just want to jump out and just like attack this person. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is riff. There's that B flat again, that E, B flat, B flat, but whatever. And I think it's B flat. Let me. Yeah, B flat. That. I faked my way through that riff, but. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really. The drums are just. Again, Lars is just perfect on this album for me. He is just killing it, and his fills, his vibe, everything, all the critiques people have on a year and a half of like the drum recording sessions, whatever, when they're all jamming together. He's late. He shows up whenever he feels like it, and they play forever. He's like stabbing through drum skins and all this stuff. They gotta change the skins every now and then because he hits the drum so hard, but to me it's worth it. Like this fill, I just love it. Such an epic fill. So let's, yeah, this solo, man. I remember Kirk saying too that the Black Album was like easiest album because the songs just seem to, you know, scream for a certain type of solo. But you know, I think that's because they work so hard. You know, it could have went the other way. It could have been totally different. You know, I don't know. But I know what he means. Like, these songs just felt like they needed this type of solo, that type of solo, this and that, and you know, it's all in hindsight. It's hard to imagine, you know, life without this album. Really, that's how much I listened to it, and just it's good stuff. But this, just the toms here and the snare. I remember back in the day, me and my brother started expanding on this album, and I remember him going like, man, the second half of this album is just unbelievable. And I was like, dude, you are not lying. It was so good. It's just perfection. Because, again, like I've said, I've always loved bass guitar. Always loved it. Even since I was real young and I didn't even know what bass guitar was. Just like asking my dad if like Silly Love Song by Paul McCartney, if that's actually someone playing bass on that slap bass part. And he's like, yeah, sure, you know. But then hearing this, yeah, that is just, that's another thing too. It's not even that heavy of a riff or complex of a riff, but it's just perfect for what this is. Dun, 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 dun. This is the other song, like I said, in E flat, but man, this is. So the chorus, we'll jump up to the next chorus. Well, this part here is awesome, but yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, going into this part here, it's just, I don't know why, it just drives me nuts when people act like these songs are just no good. It drives me crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so this part here has always been me and my brother's favorite. Yeah, so this part here. So that's obviously Hetfield cranking on his rifle. It almost sounds like Lars, doesn't it? On the stop there? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell. But we always love that break there. The way it comes in. That dun, 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 dun. Boom. That's great. It is a promise. Betrayal. I've always loved that. I used to think that was like a riff. It's just like an E minor. Like if you if you play that, it's just like it's not even a riff. It's just stuff like that. I always just loved that. All right. So we gotta get finished here. Friend of Misery. My Friend of Misery. This is just one of the best songs too. Jason just really kills this. My loyal listener Ralph says this is his favorite song at this point. The opening bass line from Newstead is absolutely undeniable. One of the highlights of the album. I can't disagree. It's so good. Obviously on Binge and Purge, we hear the what do you call it? The extended version of what he thought would be another instrumental song on a Metallica album. So let's and again, it's the song, but the difference is that one spot where it just keeps going, you know. Ah, so good. So good. It's really good. Weird chord too. Just even that guitar chord. Yeah, I'd have to agree. This is still just one of my, it's one of my favorites. I took the, I don't know, a month or so ago, on Twitter at Paul Guitarist, guy I used to work with, he was like making playlists, which I hate playlists, but he was making playlists. It was like, you know, dudes like us. I'm like, fine. I know he knows these albums. He knows these artists. So like one song from every album. And, you know, I'm like, okay, I can do that, you know. And, you know, this album, I picked Struggle Within. So we'll get into why later. But honestly, Desert Island, I don't know if I could pick between this and The Muse of Death, but like, yeah. But that acoustic guitar on the right, it's so good. Great riff right there. Yeah, it's so heavy. So let me actually cue something up. This is such a good. I mean, everything's structured around this riff, but it is actually it's worth it. This is such a great riff. That bass riff, man, it's so good. No, this hell. Let's hear Jason play this on, we'll do Cunning Stunts. He kind of plays it more like offbeat, not offbeat, but you know what I mean, like he's playing it subtly different. It's, okay, let me. You know what? I don't even think dudes like me and my my buddy Ralph on Twitter, we don't say this is our favorite song because it's obscure and no one knows it. No, it's like literally our favorite song, because there are times where I'm like, well, I don't like that song as much as the hit. I don't like this as much as that. But like with this song, it's tough to like make an argument against it, because it's an amazing song. Sometimes we do is like mega fans and nuts that, you know, we want to stand out, but not in this case. But on this Cunning Stunts DVD, listen to Kirk there. That is amazing. That's a. Yeah. Jason adds his other riff to that bone. But if we like this whole section, and again, this is what I want to see on the documentary. This is really good. I do like Lars hitting the hi-hat. You can tell he's hitting the pedal. Like, you can always tell he's not using, any drummer's using a stick, but he's just hitting a. Dun, dun, dun. That's really, even that weird guitar thing going on there. It's sometimes you wonder, is that Hetfield or Hammett? It's a solo, right? So it's got to be Hammett. But every now and then I'm like, who knows? Yeah, poor Hammett. Bow, bow. Well. Yeah, that wah pedal is so good there. It's funny because I remember, again, seeing Year and a Half. It's actually on VHS. It was the first time for obviously years I saw that documentary, which till this day, I love documentaries. I love watching any kind of documentary, but like true crime, music, anything. I love it. And Metallica's Year and a Half is my favorite documentary. And then I saw that OJ Made in America. I'm like, that gives it a run for its money. That's a good documentary. It's a really good documentary. And I remember coming back to it thinking, like, after I discovered all the deep tracks on this album, I was like, well, did they cover that on this? And they mostly didn't. Every now and then they did, but, you know, it is what it is. One of my favorite fills. Yeah, I love that fill. So, but again, this is just a great riff, great song. Just build into it here. Pop, pop, pop. 1, 2, 3. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, it's good. So good. Yeah. All right. So, one song left. The Struggle Within could be my favorite song. Definitely, probably my favorite song on this album. And you can hear nowadays Metallica playing like a tape, whatever, CD, digital file as the intro. And then once it gets going, you just let it rip. You know, it's such a heavy song. This has always been I think this is my favorite song. This is something that has always puzzled me is how he hits the snare, the cymbal, stops it all immediately. It's just great. And last time on Justice, that down picking, this riff is straight up down picking. It's just This. Yeah. It's a brutal. It's a brutal riff. Yeah, so good. It's hard for me to comment on this song because I guess while it's playing, because it's like my favorite song. The vocals, the drums, the fills, everything is just perfect on this song. And yeah, we'll get to the solo, but like just everything. That yeah, it's. I remember just like feeling and thinking when I was young, and even now, that like how is this song not played every time Metallica plays live? You know, I just and I mean, you understand when you're an adult, you're like, everybody wants to hear this, everybody wants to hear that, you know, and you know, I don't know, with Metallica, they're huge. You know, they're one of the biggest bands in the world, so they play for like they know their hardcore fans love everything they do, so I don't think they'll do a show without some of their hits, you know, because they know we'll be there no matter what, right? At the concerts. It's just rough. So let's hear the solo. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorites. Oh man, so good. So let's hear Kirk play that on Year and a Half.
Let's try it.
We're going to try everything all at once.
And turn everything up and play that way.
Roger, that would be number 2.
Great.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Let's try another guitar.
Kirk, Bob Rock's just like, try it again. He's like, no. Because, yeah, that is just like one of the most perfect guitar solos ever. And again, going with everything happening, it's just the production, just the way they packaged this whole album. It's so perfect. It's great. I love how they just put these songs together, which I still say is the fastest song on the album, and by far not the worst. If that dude that wrote, man, I wish I could call him out. I can't remember the author. I think it's like an official book. So it's like, life, birth, death, birth, school, death. Yeah. Ian Wood, whoever wrote that book, that guy right there. But him and there was another co-author. I was just not a fan of a lot of stuff they said with this album. And yeah. Literally, some parts of that book just got me just my blood boiling. So let's hear the end. Great, great, great classic album. One of the most influential albums in my life. Still listen to it, love it, have no shame saying, I'm not ashamed to say I love it to this day. Every now and then there is a massive album, and we did it with Dark Side of the Moon. Same now, where it's just like this perfect album. The masses love it, but also I think the fans do, and obviously I agree. I'm one of the fans, and I love it, and I just can't. I can't live without it. No, it's a great album, unbelievable, and we'll probably hit it again once we get to I think get the box set, because it's definitely something I want to relive. It's just amazing. It's perfect. There's nothing I would change. I don't want the songs faster. I don't want the songs longer. I just want this album exactly the way it is. And to me, it's perfection. So if if you don't like this album, you're probably not listening right now. But yeah, it's great. Great. We'll hit this stuff again, I guarantee, because like I said, we'll do some Guns N' Roses. Everything will flow. This whole year, this summer, was just amazing with music, Metallica, everything. Megadeth, everybody was just firing right now. Summer 91, and yeah, everybody was just firing on all cylinders during this era, 91. People we haven't talked about, people we will talk about, everybody. It was just perfect. And you could say it's just because, I was a kid. No, there was just something in the air at the time, something with technology being what it was, not having internet, relying on what you purchased with your own money. It was a perfect time, and this was the perfect album. So again, this is Metallica, 1991, the Black Album. We're gonna keep going. We got Load next. We are gonna just keep just jamming through this Metallica stuff, and which I love, because obviously at this point, I just love Metallica. And the whole point of this podcast is to make shows off albums and artists that, I love from a fan perspective. So yeah, it's been good. It's been heavy. I hope my guitar playing hasn't turned you off, because, not really warming up or anything or playing things perfect, but just trying to show you how important this music is to me, and just, how much it's just been part of my life. And so, all right, let's wrap this up. We're going to move on to Load next time. And for now, if you want to visit me online, I'm at apodcastandacd.com. You can email me at apodcastandacd@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at apodcastandacd. So if you want to get a hold of me, get a shout out, let me review your comments, just hit me up on those platforms. And yeah, until next time, we're going to be rocking out with more Metallica with Load from 1990. What did that come out? June 4th? June 6th? Something like that. Because this is, Load is a big album, really. So we'll get into it. I'm not going to dwell on it now. So, all right. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this show. Let me know what you think about this album. This is Metallica, 1991, aka the Black Album, and this is the podcast and the CD, and I'm Nick.
Digital Productions.
This is a podcast and a CD.